Welcome to Spotlight on New England, where we delve into the diverse and inspiring stories of pastors shaping communities across the New England area. Join us as we unravel their journeys, wisdom, and the unique experiences of these spiritual leaders who are making a profound impact in this region. Get ready for insightful conversations that transcend the pulpit and bring you closer to the heart of each pastor. Good afternoon and welcome to Spotlight on New England. We are in New Haven, Connecticut today at Bethel A.M.E. Church and having our conversation with Rev Steven Cousin Jr, pastor of this great church. So, Reverend Cousin, how are you today?
Oh, listen, I beat my wife in connections today. I beat her in the mini crossword today. So right now, life is grand.
So would you say you're a little competitive?
Very, very. Ever since I can remember, I just hate the thought of losing. And even when it came to whether it be marbles, checkers, if I did not win, I always wanted to restart whoever I was playing to make sure I win. And I was a sore winner because once I won, I quit. I didn't want to play no more for the rest of the day.
So didn't want to ruin your chances.
No. You're only as good as your last competition. So why go off on a sour note when you could go off on a high note?
Hey, that makes a lot of sense. Tell me this: how has that competitive nature assisted you in pastoring the churches you've pastored?
It's everything. It's what drives me. I came from a household with 3 other brothers inside the house. We shared one bathroom. I didn't have my own room until my junior year in college. Mm-hmm. So everything was always about trying to get what's yours and really trying to stand out. That was really how I wanted to leave my mark on this world, about what type of legacy was I going to leave behind. Mm. So that's what drives me about what's going to be said after me when it's all said and done. What are people going to be saying about my legacy, my accomplishments? And so that's what drives me every day, to feel like I have to be the best because I want to make sure that the world stops, if that makes any sense, when I'm no longer on this earth.
And so that competitive nature is maybe more competing with yourself?
My mama told me a long time ago when I was a senior in high school, I was competing for a state championship. I had a rival down in Philadelphia. His name was Ronald Cook. And I was so concerned about what he was doing. Mm-hmm. It was my mother who told me, you need to stop worrying about other people. You need to worry about yourself. Mm-hmm. And it was that moment when I realized if I just focus on me, if I could be a better version of me every day, then everything else will take care of itself.
And that seems to be how you have governed yourself in the both churches that you've pastored there in New Jersey and then here in New Haven. As you look back on it, and we can talk a little bit about your high school competitions. I believe you were recently inducted into the Hall of Fame of your local high school.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me about that.
In the 9th grade, once again, it goes back to leaving a mark. My freshman year, I went inside the school gymnasium and I saw all these banners hanging on the wall. And I looked at one name in particular. His name was Tyreek Corbin. He was a high jumper on the track and field team. And it listed everything that he accomplished in his career. And I'm thinking to myself, it would be great if I could get my own banner one day. I was wrestling at the time, but I felt, although I was good, I felt like I couldn't be at the level that was banner worthy. Mm-hmm. So I told my father that I'm done with wrestling. Cold turkey, he was upset with me. He said, well, you know what? Either you're going to get a job or you're going to go out for another sport. And I'm adverse to work. Mm-hmm. I did not want to work at all. I did not like a 9 to 5. So I said, you know what? People say I'm pretty fast. Let me just go out for the track team. Mm-hmm. Horrible at it. I was the worst one coming in. I didn't even know how long I was going to last at it, but I didn't want to quit. My father, my parents said, whatever you do, you don't quit. If you start it, you're going to finish it. So I finished out that year, and it was during that time I was introduced to the field event triple jump.
Okay.
And that was the event I fell in love with. And so that was my sophomore year. My junior year, I went on to compete at the indoor, outdoor state championships, placed third and fourth respectively. And my senior year, I said, this could be my year where I'm going to win everything. And I made a deal with my coach before the season began. I said, hey, if Tyreek gets all those accomplishments, if I were to do the same thing this year, can I get my banner? And he said, absolutely. So I made sure I did exactly what he did, and that's how I got my banner right next to his.
It's amazing that you remember the names of these other athletes, that you competed against or competed with, but all these years.
Bulletin board material.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's how you look at it. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, he will find little articles to read just to get him motivated, just to keep him inspired. And if you're really an athlete and you have that competitive nature, you're always going to find the little things to make you want to actually get up out of bed and become your best self.
Two questions. You referenced your parents a lot. In addition to the competitive nature and the stick-to-itiveness that they instilled in you, what other lessons from your early life do you take into adulthood and even parenting?
My stepfather was the one who raised me. He was big on two things: accountability and responsibility. Every time where I would make a mistake or I would not be on the right path, and he will ask me, why did I do this? His biggest thing was no excuses. Don't give me any excuse, just tell me the truth. And that's really what I live by today. Let's really get to the heart of the matter. Let's actually just cut through everything, because that's really what I take from parenting as well. If you could be honest with ourselves and be honest with each other, we can really make so much progress and accomplish a lot of things together. But if you start becoming in denial, or you start looking for ways to say why you can't be great, or you blaming other people, you're holding yourself back from your true potential.
Yeah, and achieving your true potential is something that a lot of us struggle with. What motivates you?
My grandfather had a saying, you have a born date and you have a transition date, but you have a dash mark in between. How will you spend your dash? And that little dash tells you everything about a person's life. And so for me, I wanted my dash to mean something. I want, to say that I left some type of mark on this world. I don't want people just going by not knowing that I existed or I lived. I want people to know that, hey, I did come here. I did live my life. And so that's really what drives me. It turns out legacy is very huge for me. What type of legacy am I leaving behind? What type of legacy am I leaving for my family, for my children, for them to build off of? Legacy is really what drives me, is that competitive nature to actually be that fuel to say this, I want to be the best version of myself because I want to leave a legacy when it's all said and done.
How do you want to be remembered?
Somebody who was innovative, didn't take no for an answer, was willing to move mountains out of the way. A person that didn't like hearing why, it was always why not. And so for me, it was about what hasn't been done before that I can do. What hasn't been said that I can say. So even in the preaching moment, we always say there is nothing new under the sun. But for me, I feel like there's still things that we haven't uncovered yet that we could still share, we could still explore. I do believe that 70% of our water is not explored, or 70% of our territory is not explored. To actually be able to tap in even to that potential of what is it that we're not looking at, what is it that we're not seeing. I want to be the one to say that he was able to think outside the box and really were to bring new things to the table.
And so how did you come to be a pastor in the A.M.E. church?
Well, for
was
some,
that your first?
Absolutely not. Not my first. Now, for those, they will say that this is a family business. You know, started with my great grandfather, Sylvester Alvin Cousin, who was a pastor in West Palm Beach, Florida. My grandfather, the retired Bishop Philip Robert Cousin. Then you have my uncles, my aunt, my father, all pastors. And so naturally people will think that this is what I wanted to do. I had no desire. To me, this wasn't fun.
What did you want to do when you were younger? What did you think you would be doing as a career?
I told people that I wanted to be a pediatrician. I wanted to be a children's doctor. And when I realized how long I have to be in school, I said, nope, this isn't for me. And realized what class I had to take because I faint at the sight of blood. So I'm like, nope, not for me. So my goal was to go into politics, where I was in an honors program at the University of Connecticut. I interned on Capitol Hill for Congressman John Larson. And it kept coming across my desk about if you want to change laws or policies, they had to get the faith-based community on board. That's every brief that I attended. And for me, I was saying there's so much untapped potential in the Black church. They go to evangelicals, they go to Catholics, but what about the Black church? Where were we at the table? But I was all set to go into politics. I was offered a staff assistant position with Congressman John Larson once I graduated. I originally accepted that position. And 1 week before I was set to leave to head back down to DC, I was hearing a message on the TV because I'm visiting my uncle. He loves watching the Word Network at the time. And I heard a pastor preach, and I didn't agree with the message. And that's when my uncle said, believe it or not, this is what people are being drawn towards. And I said, well, we have to change that. So that's the reason why it was that night I made the decision to go into ministry. I had no idea about the A.M.E. way, about the initial sermon, seminary, board of examiners. I just said, I want a pastor. What do I need to do to actually get here? Because I wanted to have a different message. And I also wanted to shape public policy using the church as the vehicle, because I really believe with prophetic preaching, we're the only ones who can actually hold everybody accountable without being tied to the system in itself for our livelihoods, our careers, what have you, where we have the support of the Black church for us to get by, so we could speak freely about what's happening in the world today. And so that's the reason why I wanted to come inside ministry. It really wasn't for, the legacy of my family. It was really for how can we use the Black church now, as opposed to being a relic, talking about what we did during slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow. What are we saying now in this postmodern age that can still speak relevance to a country and a community that needs it now?
And in what ways are you currently doing just that?
Ooh. So let's see, where did I begin? Well, a few years ago, when we went through the pandemic, And we noticed that we were going to go full remote, and meaning that we weren't allowed to go inside the physical buildings of the school, but kids would have to stay home to actually, receive their education. Our kids don't have computers. They barely have cell phones. And even if they have computers or cell phones, they may not have the technology at home, to really stay connected and really be on top of their education. That moment was too critical for me, where I realized we can lose a whole generation of kids. And I started thinking about third grade as the most critical year, for our Black students. My son was going into the third grade that year, and I was concerned for him about how they may view him if he wasn't staying on top of his coursework. So I gathered some churches saying, well, listen, our buildings are empty right now. Most of us are connected. Why not create learning hubs? That way these kids could come here. Their parents don't have to worry about trying to find, have them choosing between staying at home or going to work to support their families. We can provide the support here. We can give them the resources. They can stay connected online. That was a thought. We ended up serving over 300 families during that time for the entire school year. New Haven was the only city that went full remote for most of that academic year. And so we had a hand in that, and not just the churches, but we brought the city involved. We brought other nonprofit organizations to the table, and we created this massive network of learning hubs for our students that to this day, I still, get stopped on the street and say thank you for doing that. So bring me back to 2024, housing is like a major concern, especially in the city of New Haven, where we have more students now who are known as couch surfing, where technically they're not homeless, but they don't have a permanent place of residence. And our homeless population is growing on a yearly basis. So we're actually looking at potentially turning one of the properties that we own is vacant, known as a community outreach center. And we're exploring the option of trying to see, can we build sustainable, affordable housing for that population, and seeing, what could come of it as well. So right now, that's what I'm focused on.
And so for you, pastoring the church is not only what happens on Sunday morning or Wednesday evening or Tuesday night in a Bible study, but being engaged in the entire community.
I never liked it. To me, that was boring to me. Only thing I do is preach on Sunday and then do a Bible study on Wednesday, whatever your night is, because a lot of our people have this misconception that those are only 2 days that you work. And so I really wanted to break that mold. I wanted to show people that no, pastors, we're never off duty. There is always work, to be done. So this is what you just see visibly on Sunday morning because of the platform, but it's really what you don't see behind the scenes that nobody will ever really notice it unless people start posting what they do on Facebook or, any social media platform. I'm not that person. I just want to do the work. I don't care who gets the credit, but I'm always, whether it be on my phone, in a meeting, I'm always involved in something because it's critical for our people to know what's happening. I'm a huge proponent of this saying, you can either write the menu or be on the menu. And I'd rather be the one writing the menu instead of being the last person to find out and realize that there's no resources for me and my community because I wasn't at the table.
Right. Yeah. Very, very important, especially in this post-pandemic era.
I mean, if you're not connected, if you're not relevant, people can always forget about you and don't think about you when resources do come in. So my goal is to make sure that I'm still present, to make sure before any decision is made, hey, what would Rev Cousin say, what would he think about this? I want those conversations where I may not be at the high level of the rooms, but my presence is still there.
Yeah. What is something that no one knows about you? Tell us something nobody would know about you.
I'm pretty much an open book, but to share something with you, people know that I like bowling, love playing video games. My members still tease me about that. But one thing I will share with you, I am a sucker for romantic comedies. I know the formula, I know how they work, but I still get caught up in them. So yes, I like romantic comedies.
Okay, that is definitely somebody would have never suspected.
There you go. You say you want it different, there you go.
There it is. All right, and the question that you pulled from the question selection was name 3 people with whom you'd like to have a conversation.
Oh,
Living or deceased.
Look at you. Okay, yeah. I see. I always heard this question being asked,
Yeah.
but I never got a chance to be asked for it. Let's see. One.
And you can tell us why.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
This question is relevant. Jay-Z. All right. People say, would you rather have dinner with Jay-Z or take $1 million? And some people are choosing Jay-Z. Jay-Z saying take the $1 million. I would love to have the conversation with him. He's my favorite rapper of all time. That's a person who I listen to, who I inspire, and just what he was able to do from birth to where he is now, I would love to just pick his brain. My second person I would love to have a conversation with is Martin Luther King Jr. Not so much about the civil rights movement, but I really want to talk about near the end of his life, where he started to make a shift in terms of, did we integrate ourselves out of power and really shifting, towards the economic side of things as opposed to just integrating a lunch counter or a bus seat. I really wanted to just hear from his perspective about what it was like. And then my third person is Black History Month. I'm going to say it. I've always been a fan of Frederick Douglass. I would love to, just during that time, for him to actually use that speech, was the 4th of July, to me. And just to really have a better understanding of what he was saying and let him know these words still ring true today. And trying to get an understanding of the sense of where he believes where we should have gone. I want to ask these people these questions because they're the ones who are very big in progress. And we know people always say that there is no racism since President Obama has been elected, how we live in a post-racial society, and yet we realize that's not true. So how do we go about making progress? If what King did, integrating lunch counters, bus seats, didn't really do the trick, and with Frederick Douglass talk about our true independence, what is the 4th of July to a slave, and Jay-Z now going to be $1 billion person, where he didn't say that he's not a businessman, but he is a business. How do we go about making that progress? Because I'm tired of hearing that this is the first Black person to hold this position or this office or this title. How long would it take before we start or stop with that conversation first? Like, this is the first Black head coach of this college, or this is the first Black CEO of this company. When, as a society, can we stop saying that? That's what I'm curious about in terms of making progress.
Those are interesting individuals to speak with and to hear their perspective on us as a race of people moving forward.
Absolutely.
That would be quite powerful conversations. Reverend Cousin, if you could say anything to your younger self, what would that be?
Stay in shape. Don't lose it, but I would say to my younger self, trust yourself. Keep doing what you're doing. You're going to have a great life. Just stay the course. Just hang in there. Don't be impatient. Keep putting in the work, and everything that you wanted or you dreamed of, you're going to accomplish it.
All right. All right. We've gone through all of the serious questions, and now do you have time for a few fun ones?
I'm here for you.
All right, thank you. All right, you've seen the Tonight Show with Stephen Colbert, and he does the Colbert questionnaire.
Go ahead.
All right, so here's the Colbert questionnaire. I wish I could find a way to rhyme it with Lovelace, but anyway. Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
Cats or dogs?
I'm a dog person.
What is the best sandwich?
Either ham and cheese or turkey and cheese. I can't decide between one.
All right. What's the most used app on your phone?
Ooh, I'm embarrassed to say. Probably Monopoly Go right now.
Okay, games, all right. Let's see, would you prefer a flight or road trip?
Road trip.
And what is one thing that you own that you really need to throw out?
See, that's hard because my wife already did that. I had like an orange turtleneck sweater.
Oh, it had to go.
My friend ratted me out because I had it since college, and I was still wearing it 10 years into our marriage. So my wife threw it out for me.
Okay. What's one thing that you must have if you were stranded on an island?
Ooh, see, do I have Wi-Fi service? They give me my iPad.
Okay. Let's see, you get one song to listen to for the rest of your life.
One song to listen to for the rest of my life? Probably Jay-Z. Oh, man. Probably Renegade.
What is about that?
Was about Renegade, him, Eminem on there, and it was just talk about how they bucked the system to where they are today. And so either you hate it or love it, that I'm not always going to go down the path that you choose. So if it's any song, it would probably have to be that one.
All right. And describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
My life now or
The rest of
the rest of my life? Ooh, hopefully continue to live my dreams.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Cousin. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or focus on as it relates to the ministry, the city of New Haven, anything in particular?
Nah, just keep doing what we're doing. I believe that we have good people in place, as long as we don't allow our own light to dim. I believe you preached that sermon some time ago at the Women's Missionary Conference about keep your light shining. You didn't think I remember that.
No.
But remember, your dad was in the audience when you preached that sermon. But never allow my light to dim. That's really the message that I have. And always continue to not dim somebody else's light, but it's okay for us to all shine together.
Amen. And you live that within our district and within this city and within your church, very much so. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.